Good afternoon and welcome to the No Agenda Show. I'm your host Mark Anthony. If you're watching our breakfast show over on Facebook or LinkedIn earlier today, you'll know that at roughly 11 o'clock or 11:15, I didn't actually know what I was going to be talking about today. I stopped the show, which featured Neil Edwards of the Builders Conference, checked my emails, and lo and behold, it turns out that we do have a topic for discussion, as in addition to which we've also got a guest hopefully going to be coming on. That guest will be my friend Peter Haddock of Content with Media. I'll be bringing Peter on in just a second, but first I just want to give you the first bit of news, and then I'll give you some context, and then I'll get Peter on the show. So the news is that the Construction Equipment Association, or the CEA, has appointed a lady called Sunita Jahal as its new chief executive. And that reflects the fact that Rob Oliver is stepping down, or retiring actually, from the position of chief executive after 20 years service. Now, for a lot of people, the CEA kind of exists in the background. It's an organisation that generates data and works very closely with the construction equipment manufacturers here and overseas as well. But I think for a lot of people, the public face of the CEA is the Plantworks exhibition. And I wanted to give you some context of what the Plantworks exhibition is and what it has become. And I want to take you back to November 2010. For those of a certain vintage, you might recall that there used to be a UK construction equipment show called SED, or Site Equipment Demonstration. It had been a mainstay of the industry for 45 years, 45 uninterrupted years. And then the recession hit. And the organisers at the time were of the type that were basically dealing only in pounds, shillings and pence. They had no real affinity for the industry, no real connection or passion for the industry. And so when the recession hit and times got hard, despite the fact that they'd drawn a very healthy income from the construction industry for years and years and years, they pulled the plug on SED. At the time, I wrote a piece, and I've got it in front of me here. I must admit, it's a long while since I've read this. I'm going to read you a very quick part. That the UK construction and demolition equipment industry is in recession, there can be little doubt. But while organisers in years gone by would have ridden out the industry lows to gain from the industry highs, the current incumbents lack such foresight and fortitude, and would apparently rather give up than to fight. At the time, I expressed my hope, my dream, I guess, that somebody would come along with and either rescue SED or come up with a suitable alternative. Somebody did come up with a suitable alternative, and that somebody was Rob Oliver. Rob Oliver over at the Construction Equipment Association. I'm going to try and get Peter Haddock on the screen now. I'm going to send him a request. Respond to that, because I want to put into context both Rob's contribution to Plantworks, the contribution of the CEA, and I know Peter works very closely with the CEA on a number of projects, so I'm hoping he'll be able to respond. In fact, I don't have to hope any longer. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Mark. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear. I was just saying that obviously you work very closely with the CEA. I mean, both of us are regulars at the Plantworks exhibition, and there is more to the CEA than just Plantworks. But I'm trying to put into context the contribution that Rob Oliver in particular has made to the industry. What would you say?
Well, first of all, Mark, you know, you've been in the industry longer than I have, but I've been in the industry for 15 years. And one of the things that really strikes me about Rob Oliver, and one of the things that really is his legacy, is the ability for him to engage with people from all different backgrounds. So not only is he a very clever person, and not only has he really pushed hard for the industry and lobbied and come up with some great ideas and concepts, and you talk about Plantworks, I want to come on to that a bit later if I don't mind. But Rob is the kind of person that anybody can sit and talk to, and he will listen. And a great thing about a leader is listening. Then he'll give you his opinion, but also he's quite happy to be challenged on that opinion. And I think that that's what leadership is all about. And the CEA has benefited hugely from his knowledge gain, but also his knowledge share, and then bringing people together. So classic example in the pandemic, Mark, is we came back from ConExpo March 2020 into a lockdown situation. We both changed. We're live now, and we've done a lot of lives together. But Rob came on to the podcast, and he's come on since numerous times, Content with Media podcast I run, to talk about the issues that are right there, right now. So in that time, with all sites being shut down, there was a lot of plant theft going on. Why? And I said to him, why is there a lot of plant theft going on? He said, Peter, look at it in the context of the fact that people would normally steal cars, and there'd be car parks full of cars that are easy pickings, but everyone's cars sat on their drive. So they're coming to steal plants. So he reacted immediately to come and promote that sort of thing. And I was delighted to be able to help in a small way. And he's been there, like you said, of those ups and downs in the industry. And I think 20 years, you see everything comes in cycles. We're currently in a boom cycle, Mark, which is tremendous. What a great place to start a new CEO off from Sanita with a boom in the industry. But of course, all of the things that relates to are challenges, because whenever you look, I mean, Rob has never been able to sit on his laurels. Perhaps he's going to be able to do that when he retires. But with positivity comes challenges of, like we know now, not enough plant available. Like we know now, not enough skills available. Like we know now, emission standards changing, low emission zones. All these types of things are in a boom time, let alone the issues we face when we're seeing, the industry collapse as it has in the past, and loss of jobs and things like that. And I think through all of that, one, Rob has steadied the ship, but been that voice, and a voice for the industry is really important. And two, he's been able to do that with his own personality, and he makes me laugh at the end of the day, and he's got a great personality.
Yeah, I think one of the things that strikes me about Rob is, as you rightly say, I mean, you've been in the industry 15 years, I've been doing this for 30 plus years. This industry is fairly unforgiving. You are either of the industry or you are not. You're either an insider or you're an outsider. And I think Rob, I don't know his background, and my guess is he's probably come from a trade association background. But I think he has earned the respect of the industry to the point where he is not the guy from the trade association. He is of the industry now. He is of plant works, he is of construction equipment. And those are the sort of terms that people talk about him in. And I think that's really reflects on the positive contribution he's made. We've said about plant works, which, obviously I was very relieved to see, and I should be even more relieved when it finally comes back. But the other contributions he's made, and I know you've covered this, with things like the CSAR scheme, both in terms of protection against plant theft, but more recently on emissions control as well.
Yeah, well, I think, that's a really important thing. A lot of associations, you see that, what do they offer members? What do they actually give a membership? You pay your dues every month or every year, and you sit there and you might go to a nice dinner, or you might have a big hurrah or whatever, but that association doesn't then do anything for you. Well, what the CEA has done under Rob's leadership, like you say, it's been that voice, but it's also gone, we've got a problem. And who are you going to call? In this case, it's not the A team, it's the Rob team, and through his leadership to get stuff done. Because at the end of the day, we have had a massive, massive plant theft issue. And that was destroying the industry, destroying businesses, profitability, from big firms to little firms. And actually, it's the smaller people that really had got and were getting caught out with that. I can remember doing an article where this company years ago had painted its booms white, and then painted another part of them just so that they could say to the police, it's the one with the white boom and on it, because they were getting stuff stolen every week. This is a small business. That's not fair. That means that those thieves, those organized criminal gangs, are taking stuff away from us. The CSAR scheme is a great thing. People that don't know it, the great thing about the CSAR scheme is it's supported by the CEA, owned by the CEA, delivered by Data Tag, but they've gone step by step by step with it. They've gone, right, we've got a registration process. Right, that's in the database. Right, we can put trackers and things like that and systems in place, but we know that those things are only part of the issue. We need to identify something that's protected. Look over here. This shop is protected by CCTV and a big dog. That's the kind of thing that Caesar's done, a big sticker. But then it's like, well, I'll just rip the sticker off. No, they've been cleverer still with data tag as a partner. Put all these micro dots all around the machines. Got people like JCB, who are one of the first adopters of the scheme across their fleet of equipment that they make, to put them in at factory. So you can't discover or find these without the right tools. And the thief is going to go, no, it's a JCB. It's got all these things on it. It's got the Caesar sticker. Oh, God, can I really be bothered? And that sent them to other places. And what that did is that snowballed with more and more people adopting the scheme. And then I know SMTGB recently, Volvo have really adopted the scheme with the emissions standard on it. Now, that's the new, ECV, which is the emissions compliant verification, which is another sticker that goes alongside it that twins with the Caesar sticker that then says to us, this is a stage 5 or this is an electric or stage 4 machine. So you can go, hey, I'm in a low emission zone. I'm monitoring what comes in and out as a local authority. And here is this protected machine so that thieves will be deterred. But also here it says it's 0 emissions or stage 5 low emissions. So we're going to let it into our low emission zone. Great scenario there. But on top of that, Mark, you'll have probably heard my recent podcast as well with Opel Ace, which is Opel is the new organization that the CEA and other insurers have basically come together to actually fund a police organization to stop organized criminal gangs. Before, you might have had somebody locally that was stealing something and respraying it and then just chucking it out in the UK. Plant theft now and technology theft, so it's not just plant, it's the mushrooms, as people call it, for things like 3D machine control. All of those things are organized criminal gangs getting together, creating a market that's global. And so, we've created a relationship with Opel Ace now through the CEA and the partners that Rob has been able to bring together with the team there to stop that happening and to share information with Europe, with the new relationship we got through Brexit. So there's yet again another thing protecting the industry, yet again another thing promoting good equipment with the ECV. So it hasn't stopped. It's been like a roller coaster. I mean, crumbs, Mark, I've only been commenting on this stuff for a couple of years now in my new role as with content with media, my business. And the 20 years is going to be phenomenal. I couldn't even remember what the other things have done apart from, like you say, PlantWorks. And I think PlantWorks, one, I have a very soft spot for it, Mark, because I started my business, as you know, at PlantWorks 2019. And going around, putting myself in front of camera, saying, "Hi, I'm Peter Haddock," and basically that show and the people around it, like Louise, who's on the chat today, helped me start and launch my own business. And then the support that Rob has given me personally by coming onto my shows, by being part of Our Things and the Construction Collective, really just show that he's a leader for the industry and for even the individuals like me that are trying to promote the industry and yourself.
Yeah, I mean, Louise Carney has just said that Rob is planning to stay on to help out with PlantWorks, which is great news. I think the other thing that I'd like to draw upon is obviously PlantWorks is very, very high profile. I think the stuff with Caesar is very high profile. But I think some of it is some of Rob's strength has been behind the scenes in the nicest possible way. And I do mean this in the nicest possible way. The CEA of old was a bit of a sleepy old organisation that kind of existed in a dark corner somewhere. The CEA today is producing initiatives and data, reliable, regular data that is of genuine use, not just to its members, although that's obviously where it's primarily played. But, I receive their updates on equipment sales and that kind of thing. And I literally stop to look at because they, much as Neil Edwards is on construction contract awards with the show I did earlier today, That's what the CEA does now with construction equipment sales. They've got their finger on the very pulse. And we've got a question here, I'm guessing, from somebody that's maybe not in the UK. The CEA is the Construction Equipment Association, different to the CPA, which is the Construction Plant Hire Association. Thanks, Lou, for answering that. But yeah, as I say, I think Rob will be, you know, his chief executive role will be remembered for a lot of things. But I think bringing the CEA out of sort of the dark recesses into the forefront of the industry, I think that's been one of his biggest achievements. And I think it's the one that most people will probably overlook.
Well, yes, Mark, and I think that the whole idea of communication within organisations that are industry bodies has always been an issue. You know, because a lot of organisations talk to themselves and their own people, and they keep it very internal. Well, nobody gets a benefit from that at all, because the people that are in the organisation and supporting the organisation tend to know a lot about things, and they don't really share it. And those kind of organisations that are insular, actually the members want to keep them that way so that nobody gets a competitive advantage from information that might be let out into the wide world. But what Rob has done, and what, I spent some time with the CEA recently with Sunbelt Rentals, talking about the ECB, with Dave, one of his colleagues. And so what Rob's done is not only been the face there and started to say, look, we can share this information. We can make people think about this industry in a better way. We can make people want to join it. We can make people want to understand how to run their business better by doing things for everyone, whether they're a member or not. And I think that's really shining a light on the CEA as the premier communicator in this sector. And I think, Rob now handing that baton on to somebody that we don't know yet, obviously, but that's had a background in actually a people role, and so in another organisation, means that hopefully that can carry on, because the strength of the CEA is in, like you say, the things they do, but more importantly, the things they share. So by keeping that equipment data to themselves and not sending it to journalists, well, nobody gets to find out about it, which is ridiculous. By, not having a show, by not coming to the rescue of plant works, nobody has a plant show that is very, very different to Hillhead, and people can have a go on the small machines and can meet people, which is going to be super, super important. And by not doing the CSAR scheme, billions of pounds over the 20 years of Rob being in his position, billions of pounds would have been lost by the industry in stolen equipment and downtime and the consequences of it, and the insurance premiums and things like that. So you've got to make sure that if you are an organisation, that you have an outward voice, and that comes from leadership.
We will come on to Rob's incoming replacement in just a second, but one of the other points that I wanted to touch on, and I do realise that the CEA is a committee. I realise that Plant Works is not just one man, but I think one of the other things that really stands out from Rob's time is the way that it engaged with, or the way that Plant Works engaged with young people during the show. I spent a lot of time at the old SED shows, where anybody under the age of 16 was banned. We're an industry that is constantly bemoaning the fact that we're not engaging with or attracting young blood. But it was Rob and his team that said, fine, let's open the doors, let's get schools and colleges along to see what this industry is all about. You mentioned the word legacy earlier. If one person has attended, one young person has attended an SED, seen the big diggers and thought, I'll have a piece of that. Rob's legacy, I would say, is absolutely secure.
Yeah, look, like anything, we all come to the end of our tenure, don't we, Mark? Hopefully I've got a few more years left in me. But, we all come to the end of the tenure, and you've got to look back and you've got to think, the titles and things like that people crave for, this, that, and the others. Titles are meaningless unless you do something with it. When you're given the title of a CEO, that is the title that can give you a lot of respect, but it's also the title that comes with it a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, because you are the figurehead of that particular organization. But you've also got to recognize you're a human being as well, and so all the other people around you. So when you see an industry that is being crippled by the fact that we can't attract anybody into it, and that closes the gates on young people at an event, you know, it's utterly ridiculous. I mean, the agricultural shows that you see and everything around the country and around the world, there's kids everywhere, you know, and there's farming machinery, there's some diggers and stuff like that there as well. But opening that up in a safe, in an organized way was really impactful. And I think it really did shine a light on the fact that, hold on, you know, you've got these young children, male and female, you know, walking around in awe of what they're seeing. And I can remember, you know, my son, who now, as you know, does some videos and interviews about the industry. He's coming up to be 14 in December. He used to sit in his pushchair with my mum next to a big development that was being made when he was young. And he would sit there, and as soon as she moved away from him watching the diggers, he'd cry. So she stuck back down again. You know, this is a really exciting industry. We do things, big machines, small machines, electric machines, whatever. You know, we produce things, we dig up, we give you the internet, we give you, you know, the ability to make a factory that can make this iPhone that I'm on here. The industry makes things, you know, and that's what's really exciting about it. And I think bringing that to life with PlantWorks and bringing that to life with the things that Rob and his team have done over the years is super important. And, you know, I think it's a great time to come on to Sunita and to look at, you know, what opportunities there are for her, because I've just looked her up on LinkedIn, Mark, as you can do nowadays. You can also find me on LinkedIn, folks, Peter Haddock. And Mark.
Never misses a chance for an advert.
No, exactly. But join the community on LinkedIn. Sunita comes from the Association of Independent Professionals and the Self-Employed. So a people person.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, the other thing that stood out, and I'm going to try and voice this in the best possible way. The thing that I have been most impressed with is the fact that Sunita is clearly a female, but the statement announcing her arrival doesn't mention the fact, because it doesn't matter. I mean, apparently there were something like 50 plus applicants for what is a very senior role. Yeah. She has earned that job on merit, not because she is female. That again is a type of leadership. You know, that's how the industry is supposed to operate.
Yeah, and look, Mark, at the end of the day, you have to look at any industry, and our industry is hemorrhaging the opportunity, because any industry needs to have the best people in it, whatever ethnic background they are, whatever diverse communities they live in, or how they've been brought up, or whatever else. You know, ours is an industry that needs the best people, and we need them fast, and we need them now, and we need them to stay, Mark. Now, so we spend a lot of time bringing people into this industry, and you know, you and me have seen the shock and horror of what female members of this industry have had to go through. And that's utterly ridiculous, you know. And I think, you know, having somebody in the industry that is male, female, from any background, as long as they are enthusiastic, as long as they are inclusive themselves in what they do, and as long as they actually take a long look and look at the industry from an outsider's perspective, then we have a leader that's going to do an awful lot for our, you know, our community. And not forgetting that if Sunita's going to catch up with Rob, she's going to be with us for 20 years, Mark. So, you know, there's a hell of a lot.
Don't put her off.
There's a hell of a lot she can do in 20 years. But, you know, but in all seriousness, you know, we have a problem in this industry, and that one of the biggest challenges moving forward is not necessarily emission standards and things like that that have already been done. One of the biggest challenges is, how do we move this sector forward to attract the best people, to attract the best people that are going to not only be operating the equipment, that are going to be servicing the equipment, that are going to be the innovation brains that are going to make new equipment advances. All of these people we need to attract from other industries that are doing a far better job than us. You know, and I'm excited by seeing that sort of association of independent professionals and self-employed being her previous role, because that's people. That's a people business. You know, she's representing people that are independent professionals. Guess what? They're probably, a lot of them are entrepreneurs, self-employed. A lot of them are entrepreneurs. Guess how many people in the industry we have that are self-employed, Mark? Tons and tons of operators in particular are self-employed. So are surveyors, all the different people that are in this sector. That means that we have somebody coming in that understands the challenges of those people and understands how to support them, which is great. Everybody can be taught about what a digger is, Mark. What's a digger? What's a dozer? What's a this, that, and the other? You know, I just edited yesterday morning a 20-minute video from Lucas going around the Caterpillar facility in Malaga, and he now knows what a dozer is, and he now knows what a scraper is. You know. And you can educate people in that way, but what you can't do is make a non-people person into a people person.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to hop back. Our friend Life Behind the Levers, hashtag We All Work as One. I think that's obviously relating to the fact that Sunita is a female. The other thing that also stands out. Now I'm going to again couch this very carefully, because Rob was clearly had his finger on the pulse with the Caesar scheme and all the things, but Sunita is a younger person. You know, this is a subject that you and I have talked about ad infinitum. We are at the cusp of the biggest shift in this industry that the industry has ever seen, with technology, the switch to alternative fuels. It is a young person's industry. And I think, you know, Sunita's appointment reflects that.
Yeah, not only is it a young person's industry, Mark, but what it is turning into is a global industry. You know, you look at the technologies that we're having now. Again, I'll refer back to the little Caterpillar visit I did to their demonstration facility in Malaga, their global base, a couple of weeks ago. I stood on top of a D11 dozer there that can be controlled by anyone in the world at any time, as long as it's got fuel in it, of course. But that's the kind of technology we're going to be into in the next generation that is coming through. They're going to be able to use the Caterpillar remote operator stations, and the Cabelco have got the same sort of scenario coming through. You're going to be talking exoskeletons for people on sites. You're going to be talking virtual reality. You can already see things in 3D. You know, all of the machines that are coming out are joystick controlled, you know, and you've got some crazy technology where the glass in the front of an excavator turns into the model that you can see where the pipe is below you. You know, you've got all of these different things happening. So you've got a technology-driven industry that's super exciting, and then you've got a globalization of that industry. So if you have the best skills, you can work anywhere in the world, and you can make a huge living doing that. Because, I mean, look at the scenario we've got at the moment. We have HGV drivers that are earning £54,000 a day that I've read. A year, sorry, not a day. A year, sorry. 54,000.
If it was a day, I'd be changing jobs.
Yes, please. £54,000 a year, sorry. And basically, you know, that is a skilled job. You look at an operator as well. We've got huge shortages there, and we're going to continue to have shortages with things. Everybody hops on my mistakes. You know, there's Louise hopping on my mistake. Yeah. A year, Louise. Okay, I'm allowed one mistake. You basically have you know, operators that are learning skill sets now that are going to be so in demand in the future that they're going to you know, carry a huge weighting for them to earn money, not now but for the rest of their life. It's a career opportunity.
And a completely transferable skill. I mean, obviously, I spend a lot of my time talking about demolition. And you look at some of these high-reach operators. I mean, I'm thinking of a guy called Paul McHale in particular. You know, he's a Brit, but he's worked in New Zealand, he's worked in Australia, he's worked in the Falklands, across Scandinavia. You know, it is a transferable and a desirable skill. You know, that guy could work anywhere. You know, if you're willing to put in the graft, you know, this is an industry that will look after you very, very well for many, many, many years.
It will. I mean, you know, the great example met a guy called Ted, 21-year-old guy, gap year for university, learning to be a digger driver, got put on by Plant Force onto semi-automatics, brand new, like a geosystems controlled machine. What was fantastic talking to him, the takeaway wasn't like, oh, what's going on here, this, that, and the other. The takeaway was, so how have you found the machine? Well, I was waiting for an engineer to come down, but he couldn't make it on that day. But the guys wanted to start some buns to get rid of some of the material. So I looked online on YouTube, Googled it, worked out how to do the bund, programmed it into the tablet on the Leica system and started creating the bund. And I created quite a bit of the bund before the engineer arrived. Of course, he's then starting to panic, going, "What are you doing? There's a bund." And he goes, "Well, I think I've got it in the right, use the bucket to get the levels, and I've got it in the right position, I think." The engineer comes around and goes, yes, well, you have, yes. And it's like, okay, you've got a bit of shaping and moving, and I'd like to do it slightly better. Of course you would, Mr. Engineer. But, he's got it in the right space. He's done that himself. Well, you know what? Fantastic. Because what that means is a people-plant interface gets taken away. And so if we can train people to also be surveyors, we can have what we call as-built data and stuff like that. And all of these things make us, and this is the biggest thing that I think the CEA under Rob has done as well, it makes us part of the wider construction industry. So Rob sat on cross-industry boards and cross-industry roundtables and things like that. We have always been that far apart, that trench width apart, Mark, from the rest of the construction industry. Now, with all this technology coming in, we're actually going to be able to be close and integrated, because the models that the engineers, the architects, that everybody else makes goes straight into the machines, get made, as built data goes straight out and back around to them. And so what we've got there is a circular construction economy that's properly joined up. And it's the work in which, the collaboration work in which the CEA does, and how I'm explaining it to other organizations in the mix about what we can do, that helps us do that, isn't it?
Totally. I mean, one of the things that I remember very, very clearly, and I'm probably going back possibly even 6 or 7 years. I mean, all the talk at the moment is about the construction of the HS2 high-speed rail network.
Yeah.
But the CEA organised a conference at which, the people that were going to be building it or that were planning it, they were there, they were represented. They were actually detailing how many dump trucks would be needed by HS2, how many excavators would be needed by HS2, before they'd even been given assent, the royal assent to actually press the button. That's how far forward-thinking the CEA has been under Rob's control,
Yeah, I can remember writing an article when I did. Daddy, by the way, Daddy something 1000. Fantastic to see. New operators need training by operators that are willing to let the new operator operate their equipment. Then when they come into a problem, give them the opportunity to solve it on their own or show them. Absolutely, 100% right. 100% right. Thanks for that comment. That's brilliant. Sorry, Mark. Yeah, I wrote articles with Rob Oliver when I was working for Finning, a UK and Ireland, the Caterpillar dealer, in their magazine, way before they'd actually, put a hole in the ground in anger, that we're seeing, only recently. And that's the strength of how that the CEA can bring together all of that data, all of that analysis, all of the clever people in those different organizations, OEM organizations and other member organizations, to be able to calculate that, to be able to think about that, and to challenge what the industry should and shouldn't do. Because I can remember talking to Rob about scrapers and saying, well, HS2 is a big mine, and I called it at the time a mine in a line, because you are moving that much earth, it's equivalent of a mine, but it's in a line. So, we're saying, well, why aren't scrapers coming back? And guess what's happened, Mark? Scrapers are back, and it's in the UK, and it's great to see. I haven't actually got to see one yet, which I'm, looking forward to, but scrapers are back because people have looked at everything properly and challenged the norm and challenged what people are saying. And I think that is fundamentally leadership again, saying don't just be led down this pathway, think about it in a holistic sense.
We've been going for more than half an hour, and I know you and I could probably talk for the rest of the day quite easily. But you've worked alongside and indirectly for Rob. Obviously, he is only retiring. He's not going anywhere else, but he is only retiring. What will be your lasting thought on Rob Oliver's reign as Mr. CEO?
I think my lasting thought on Rob is really that he is somebody that I think that anyone can talk to. He is somebody that, like I said before, is somebody that listens, but also he's somebody, that might be at retirement age, Mark, but really is still down with the kids, because he's jumped on podcasts. He's jumped on our live shows. As the world has changed, he's embraced digital like younger people just haven't done. And so for me, it's all of that is very much a case in point that I think, I've lost you, that I think that has been Rob's legacy. And, as you move forward, when you can sit down with somebody, have a conversation, have a laugh with it, and enjoy that conversation, you've got true leadership, and you've got somebody that will be missed, but in the background, I'm sure he'll carry on for some time, helping, Sunita and the CEO transition forward. But Rob Oliver is a great guy. He happens to be the CEO, and that's hard to say, CEO. And he's going to be retiring, but the legacy is that he's enjoyed that job. And through enjoying that job, he's been able to share more, he's been able to create more, he's been able to do more, and he's been able to show a sense of leadership that has kept people within the organization engaged, has brought more people into the organization, and he's recognized how important it is. And I do want to stress that, how important it is to have the right people around you. And I think one of the other people that I'd like to shout out today is Louise Carney, who is the press officer for the CEA. She has worked tirelessly with Rob for many, many years to put Rob's thinking into words, into communications, into sharing, and all the rest of it. And I think when you have a partnership with your staff that is so ingrained that everybody is looking for the next positive opportunity to get the CEA heard, like Louise, like Dave, like the other people in the CEA I've engaged with over the last couple of years, you've created an organization that is self-generating, self-sharing, and self-believing. And that's the leader that is Rob Oliver.
Well, yours is far better than mine. I was just going to mention the fact that he, like I am, is a West Ham fan, which already makes him a great guy before he even starts. So,
well, that's a great way to finish, Mark.
Absolutely, Peter. Listen, I really appreciate you giving up your time today.
No, my pleasure.
I know we're both planning to catch up with both with Rob and with Sunita at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Louise Carney is blushing. I'm sure you are, Lou. You are a great team. Yeah, absolutely. As I say, the CEA was that sleepy old organisation, and now it isn't. And I think that all stems back to Rob and to you, Lou. So congratulations on that. And I wish Rob every success in his, a well-earned retirement. And I wish Sunita every luck with her new job.
As do I, Mark. And thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to talk like this. It is important that, what we're doing, we have the news, it breaks the stories now. We've been able to go live and do our little bit to really stress the importance that we have placed in the CEA and its leadership now and into the future.
Fantastic. Peter, I'll let you get back to the day job, which I'm sure you've got something better to do than talking to me. I shall see you very, very soon.